There are times in life when we encounter people who intentionally or unintentionally seek to hurt us. They damage you on purpose. They knew exactly what they were doing. They spoke words that cut deep, made decisions that undermined your confidence, and took actions that shattered your spirit. Perhaps they were motivated by jealousy, fear, or the desire to control. But whatever their reasons, the impact was real, and it left you feeling broken, betrayed, and abandoned. But I want to remind you today that no matter how deep the wounds they inflicted, no matter how deliberate their attempts to break you down, they cannot destroy what God has placed within you. You are not defined by what people did to you. You are defined by what God created you to be. You are a masterpiece, fearfully and wonderfully made, and no amount of damage inflicted by others can change that. When Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, they did so with the intention to harm him. They wanted to erase his dreams, to eliminate his potential, and to bury his destiny. But God turned what was meant for evil into something good. You see, people can plan, plot, and even execute their intentions to hurt you, but they cannot override God's plans for your life. They can attempt to damage you, but they cannot destroy the purpose God has embedded in your very being. You may have been hurt, but you are not defeated. You may have been betrayed, but you are not abandoned. You may have been scarred, but you are not destroyed. God is a master using broken pieces to create something beautiful. He takes the fragments of our pain, our rejection, our hurt, and he molds them into a testimony of his grace, power, and love. Your story is not over because someone damaged you. Your story is just beginning. So stand tall, lift your head up, and reclaim your strength. Remember that the damage they inflicted does not define you. It is merely a part of your journey, a chapter in your book, and God is still writing the rest. Do not let bitterness take root in your heart. Do not allow anger or resentment to steal your peace. Instead, allow God to use every wound, every scar, and every hurt to elevate you to a place where his glory is revealed in your life. Forgive those who damaged you, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Release them from your heart, not because it makes what they did okay, but because it frees you to walk in the fullness of what God has for you. Remember, no one can take from you what God has ordained for you. They may have damaged you, but they did not define you. God is the one who defines you, and he says you are blessed, you are chosen, you are loved, and you are his. Trust in his process, lean into his promises, and watch how he turns every act meant to damage you into a stepping stone for your destiny. They may have damaged you intentionally, but God will use it to bless you beyond measure. Denying the reality of the pain you've experienced, the hurt that has been inflicted upon you was deliberate and calculated. They knew exactly what they were doing when they spoke those harsh words, when they made those decisions behind your back, when they manipulated situations to see you falter. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was an intentional act to break your spirit, to cause you to question your worth, to make you feel small, unworthy, and unlovable. The pain of betrayal, of being undermined, or of being used, those are not wounds that heal overnight. It's important to acknowledge that what you went through was real. Too often we try to bury our pain, ignore it, or act like it didn't happen. But suppressing it only causes it to fester and grow. We can't heal what we don't acknowledge. You have to confront the reality that they damaged you on purpose. They aimed at your heart, at your confidence, at your identity, and they succeeded in causing hurt. And it is okay to admit that it hurt deeply. Acknowledge the sleepless nights, the tears that fell, the feeling of betrayal that kept you awake. Recognize the moments when you felt utterly alone, questioning your worth, your value, and your place in this world. It is okay to admit that the pain was overwhelming, that it knocked the wind out of you, that it caused you to stumble, to doubt, to fear. It is okay to say, yes, I am hurting, because healing begins with truth. And the truth is, they damaged you intentionally. But know this: acknowledging your pain is not a sign of weakness. It is a declaration of your humanity. It is the first step toward reclaiming your strength. Admitting that you've been hurt is not surrendering to the pain. It's refusing to allow that pain to define you or dictate your future. Acknowledging it allows you to start the process of healing, to allow God to meet you right where you are in the midst of your brokenness and begin to do the work of restoration. It is crucial to understand that those who intentionally damaged you did not do so without reason. They may have acted out of jealousy, seeing something in you that threatened them, your light, your potential, your promise. They might have been intimidated by the greatness they sensed within you, even if you could not see it in yourself. Sometimes people will try to dim your light simply because it shines too brightly for their comfort. They saw the gifts, the talents, and the favor on your life, and rather than celebrate it, they chose to tear it down. Maybe their actions were driven by fear of losing control, fear of their own inadequacies being exposed by your excellence, fear of change, or fear that you might surpass them. When people are insecure about their place in life, they often project those insecurities onto others. They try to belittle you to keep you small so they can feel bigger. It is their fear that fueled their actions, not your lack of worth or capability. There may have been those who sought to control you, who used their words or actions as weapons to manipulate and manage your steps. They wanted to mold you to fit their expectations, to keep you confined within the limitations of their vision for your life. They knew the power of their influence, and they wielded it with precision, hoping to bend your will, to crush your spirit, to make you conform. They may have done it out of a desire to dominate, to keep you dependent, to make you doubt yourself so they could always feel needed or superior. But here is the truth: their motives, no matter how deep or dark, have nothing to do with who you are or what you are worth. Their actions were a reflection of their own brokenness, their own fears, their own insecurities. It was never about you, it was about them. You see, people will often project their pain onto others, trying to control what they cannot control within themselves. They may have damaged you, but it was their own damage, their own unhealed wounds and unresolved conflicts that drove them to act as they did. Understanding this does not excuse their behavior, but it helps you to see it for what it truly is: a desperate attempt to fill their void, to calm their fears, to address their inadequacies. They did it intentionally, yes, but it was born out of their own struggles, their own lack of peace. They saw something in you that they lacked in themselves, and instead of being inspired by it, they chose to attack it. Recognizing their motives helps you to take back your power. It shifts the narrative from what's wrong with me to what was wrong with them. It allows you to see that their actions were not a verdict on your value, but a window into their own pain and brokenness. It gives you the perspective you need to rise above, to forgive, and to move forward, knowing that what they did says more about them than it ever could about you. Even though they may have hurt you deliberately, their actions do not have the final say over your life. People may plot, scheme, and intentionally try to damage you, but their plans are nothing compared to the plans God has for you. When God has ordained a purpose for your life, no human intention, no weapon formed against you, and no plot against your destiny can prevail. The damage they intended may have seemed devastating, but it is not the end of your story. God's plan for you is greater, deeper, and more powerful than any scheme designed to harm you. Think about Joseph, who was betrayed by his own brothers. They plotted against him, sold him into slavery, and left him for dead, hoping to erase his dreams and extinguish his future. Yet what they did not know was that every step back, every hardship was a part of God's divine plan to elevate Joseph to a position far greater than they could have ever imagined. What they meant for evil, God turned into good. He used their actions to place Joseph exactly where he needed to be to fulfill his destiny. You see, God's plan is always greater than man's intentions. God sees beyond the pain and the betrayal. He knows how to turn every wound into wisdom, every trial into triumph, and every stumbling block into a stepping stone. The very things that were meant to destroy you, He will use to develop you, to build your character, to strengthen your faith, and to prepare you for the greatness that He has in store for you. God's plan is always bigger than the human mind can comprehend. His purpose is to prosper you, to give you hope, and to provide you with a future that exceeds your expectations. You may have been damaged, but you are not defeated. You may have been hurt, but you are not hopeless. The plans of man can never overrule the plans of God. When God says you are chosen, no one can unchoose you. When He declares that you are blessed, no one can curse you. When He has set a course for your life, no one can derail it. God's purpose is unstoppable, unshakable, and immovable. It stands firm through every storm, every attack, and every scheme of the enemy. Trust that even in your pain, God is working. Even when you can't see it, He is moving things in your favor. Even when you feel like you're surrounded by enemies, remember that you are surrounded by God's love, and His plans for you are greater than any plan against you. He is the master architect of your life, and He knows how to take every broken piece and build something beautiful. When you let go of resentment, you are allowing God to be the righteous judge. You are trusting Him to handle the situation in His way and in His time. You are putting your faith in His justice rather than trying to take matters into your own hands. Remember that bitterness and resentment are like poison. They may feel justified, but they only serve to harm you, not the person who hurt you. They cloud your vision, steal your joy, and hinder your spiritual growth. But when you choose to release them, you open yourself to God's healing. You allow His light to shine in the darkest corners of your heart. You invite His peace to replace the pain. Releasing bitterness also means choosing to love yourself enough to let go. It means acknowledging that you deserve to live in peace, not in the turmoil of resentment. You deserve to walk in freedom, not in the shadows of past hurts. You are worthy of a future that is not defined by what was done to you, but by the destiny God has for you. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, but it does mean freeing. It means taking back your power, reclaiming your peace, and trusting God to handle the rest. It is a decision to rise above the hurt and to refuse to let the actions of others dictate your life any longer. It is a choice to move forward, to grow, and to thrive. So release the bitterness and resentment. Let them go and watch how God begins to heal your heart, restore your joy, and renew your strength. Trust that He will bring justice where it is due, and that He will use every experience, even the painful ones, for your ultimate good. Remember, you are not what happened to you. You are who God says you are. And He says you are free, you are loved, and you are whole. Choose to walk in that freedom today. Forgiveness is not just a word, it is an act of liberation, a choice that leads to true freedom. When others have damaged you intentionally, forgiveness can seem impossible, even unjust. You may feel that forgiving them means excusing their actions or letting them off the hook for the pain they caused. But forgiveness is not about them, it is about you. It is about setting yourself free from the chains of the past so that you can move forward into the life God has planned for you. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks the door to freedom. It frees you from the heavy burden of anger, bitterness, and resentment. When you forgive, you release yourself from the prison of pain that others have tried to keep you in. You are choosing to no longer be defined by what happened to you, but by how you rise above it. You are choosing to let go of the bitterness that holds you back and instead embrace the peace that God offers. Forgiveness is not an emotion, it is a decision. It is a deliberate choice to say, I will not allow what they did to me to control my life any longer. It is deciding to trust God with your pain, to give it to Him and let Him deal with it in His perfect way. Forgiveness is an act of faith, believing that God can heal what is broken, restore what was lost, and make all things new. Look at the story of Stephen in the book of Acts. As he was being stoned to death, he looked up to heaven and asked God to forgive those who were killing him. He knew that forgiveness was the pathway to peace, even in the most painful of circumstances. Stephen understood that his freedom was not tied to the actions of others, but to his choice to forgive. In his final moments, he experienced a divine peace that surpassed all understanding, a peace that came from knowing he had forgiven and released those who meant to harm him. Forgiveness is a powerful tool that God has given us to live in freedom. When you forgive, you are not condoning the actions of those who hurt you. Instead, you are choosing to free yourself from the power those actions have over your life. You are taking back control, choosing peace over pain, and allowing God to work through you. Forgiveness is also a form of self-love. It is recognizing that you deserve to live in peace and joy, not in the turmoil of resentment. You deserve to be free from the emotional bondage that comes with holding on to grudges. When you forgive, you are saying to yourself, I love myself enough to let go of what is hurting me. I am choosing to move forward, to grow and to heal. Remember, Jesus taught us to forgive not just once, but 70 times 7. He knew that forgiveness is not a one-time act, but a continual process. It is a daily decision to let go of the offense, to release the hurt, and to trust God with the outcome. He knew that without forgiveness, our hearts could become hardened and our spirits could become heavy with the weight of unhealed wounds. Forgiveness is an act of strength, not weakness. It takes great courage to forgive those who have hurt you deeply. But in doing so, you are aligning yourself with God's heart, with His love and His grace. You are becoming more like Him, embodying His character and living out His command to love even your enemies. And in that act of obedience, there is immense freedom. So choose forgiveness, not for them, but for you. Forgive because you want to be free. Forgive because you refuse to let the damage done to you define your destiny. Forgive because you trust in a God who heals, who restores, and who makes all things new. When you forgive, you are not just releasing others, you are releasing yourself into the fullness of life that God has for you. Forgiveness may not always be easy, but it is always worth it. It is the bridge that takes you from the pain of the past into the promise of a brighter future. It is the door through which healing walks in and bitterness walks out. It is the path to freedom, to peace, and to a life that is no longer held captive by the actions of others. Choose to forgive and choose to be free. When others intentionally damage you, it can feel like your identity and purpose are under attack. Their actions may leave you questioning who you are and what you are meant to do. They may have tried to diminish your sense of self-worth and cloud your vision of your purpose. But no matter what has happened to you, your identity and purpose remain intact, and it is up to you to reclaim them. Reclaiming your identity starts with understanding that you are not defined by the damage done to you. You are not what others say you are, nor are you the sum of their criticisms or betrayals. Your true identity is rooted in who God says you are. You are a child of God, created in His image, fearfully and wonderfully made. Your value is inherent and unshakable, regardless of the hurt inflicted upon you. The opinions of others do not alter the truth of your worth. Recognize that you have been uniquely designed with gifts, talents, and a divine purpose. Your purpose is not contingent on the approval or acceptance of others, but on the divine plan God has for your life. The damage they caused may have wounded you, but it cannot erase the calling on your life. It cannot diminish the unique contributions you are meant to make in this world. Reclaiming your purpose means reaffirming your commitment to the vision God has placed in your heart, despite the setbacks. Think of Joseph once again. Despite being betrayed by his brothers and imprisoned unjustly, Joseph did not lose sight of his purpose. He continued to use his gifts, interpret dreams, and serve faithfully, even in the darkest of circumstances. His identity and purpose were not lost in his trials. They were refined and elevated. By the time he was elevated to a position of great authority, he was prepared and equipped to fulfill his purpose with wisdom and grace. Joseph's story reminds us that our identity and purpose can withstand even the greatest of adversities. Reclaiming your identity also involves rejecting the lies and negative labels that others may have tried to place upon you. They may have tried to tell you that you are not enough, that you are broken beyond repair, or that you will never achieve your dreams. But these are lies designed to keep you from realizing your full potential. Your identity is not determined by these lies, but by the truth of God's word. Stand firm in who you are in Christ and reject any identity that is based on the hurt and harm others have inflicted upon you. Purpose often emerges from pain and adversity. The trials you have faced can become the backdrop for the very purpose you are meant to fulfill. Your experiences, though painful, can give you a unique perspective and compassion that equips you to help others who are facing similar struggles. The damage done to you can become a powerful testimony of God's redemption and grace. Your purpose may very well be intertwined with the healing and restoration you have experienced. Reclaiming your purpose also means taking proactive steps to align your life with the vision God has given you. It means setting goals, pursuing dreams, and living out your calling with courage and conviction. Even in the face of challenges, you have the power to move forward and make choices that reflect your true identity and purpose. Engage in activities that bring you joy, seek out opportunities to serve others, and surround yourself with people who affirm your worth and support your journey. Lastly, reclaiming your identity and purpose requires you to embrace the truth that you are a work in progress. Healing and growth take time, and it is okay to be on a journey of discovering and living out your full potential. Be patient with yourself and trust in the process. Each step you take towards reclaiming your identity and purpose is a step towards greater fulfillment and joy. Remember, the damage inflicted upon you does not have the power to define you or deter your purpose. You have the strength and the divine support to rise above the hurt and walk confidently in your true identity and purpose. Reclaim what was rightfully yours, your worth, your calling, and your destiny. Embrace the truth of who you are and move forward with the assurance that your life has great value and purpose. With God's guidance and strength, you can overcome the damage and shine brightly in the fullness of your true self.